grew up in a family with two brothers. I have an older brother, Ed, who's 2 years older than me, and I have a younger brother, Cliff, who is 9 years younger. And according to my parents to this day, completely planned out. But for many years, it was just Ed and I growing up, and my brother Ed has always been taller than me, bigger than me, better athlete than I was. He was just a big, strong guy, still is to this day. But here's what's interesting. We lived in a two-story house for a good part of our childhood. My brother would always make me go upstairs first because he was afraid of the dark, right? Should be the other way around. No, my brother, he was kind of spooky, kind of superstitious. And he would always say, Ben, you go up first, and we get upstairs, you turn on the light because I don't know what's going to be in the attic, because the attic was near our rooms, and he was afraid of the dark. And I didn't really get it until some time passed, and it was the summer of 1987. I was working and studying in a mountain retreat area near Crested Butte, Colorado. And there was a main home there and some smaller homes where the people were living there as we were working and studying. And I was there early on. I had to walk from the main home to the log cabin, a literal log cabin, where I was living and sleeping. So I went outside and was going to make my way down this little trek. And let me tell you something. I started walking outside. Again, I guess I'm a city guy used to the ambient light in Houston. I couldn't see anything at all. It was absolute and utter darkness. Now, young folks, this was BC, before cell phone. And I was literally stumbling and hitting rocks and thinking, is there any way I can go and find my way back to my little home, back to my log cabin in the dark? How am I going to make it all the way there? So finally, I stumbled and drugged myself and finally made it to the cabin. But that moment made me realize, wow, I kind of understand my older brother now. Finally, eureka. Darkness, utter darkness, can be a frightening thing. How many of you have ever been in a place like that where you've experienced literally physical darkness? You can't see anything. Raise your hand. 3 of us, great. Okay, so if we haven't been there literally in literal darkness, if you live a while, you experience darkness in a whole nother way, in an existential way, in a life way. Many times in life, we go through a season of darkness. There's a darkness of grief. There's a darkness of pain. There's the darkness of addiction. There are all kinds of circumstances and choices, things that we chose, things that we didn't choose, that can bring a type of darkness into our life. Now, what's amazing to me about the Bible is how honest the Bible is, and how the Bible deals realistically with the reality of darkness. You know, years ago, I think it was one of the Batman movies. It was called, The Dark Knight, isn't that right? Well, in the Bible, in the middle of the Bible, in Psalm 88, I call that the dark psalm. It's unbelievable, this psalm, Psalm 88. Now, the psalmist goes, night and day I cry out to you. I'm overwhelmed with troubles. I'm down in pity. I'm with the dead. I don't have any strength. I don't remember you. You've cut me off. He's talking to God here. I'm in the darkest depths. I'm heavy. I'm overwhelmed. My closest friends have left me. I feel confined. I can't escape. I call out to you. He goes, if I'm dead, how can I sing a praise song if I'm dead? It doesn't make any sense. See? I'm confined. I'm in a place of darkness. I cry out to you. You reject me. You hide your face from me. Your wrath has swept over me. Terror has destroyed me. They surround me like a flood. They have completely engulfed me. And listen to verse 18 of Psalm 88. This is the way he concludes it with this upbeat, happy note. You have taken my friends and neighbors from me, and darkness is my closest friend. Wow, right? Now, you could look at that in 2 ways. Man, I wish that were not in the Bible. I'm glad that it's in the Bible. I'm glad that God allows us, when we go through times of darkness, when we go through times of pain, when we go through times when we don't believe that there's any light at all, God allows us to lay out our feelings, to lay out our case before Him, no questions asked. But this psalmist was saying what a lot of us have experienced about darkness, and many of us may be experiencing that right now. The darkness frustrates. Darkness can alienate us from family and friends and relationships. And ultimately, darkness incarcerates. We feel trapped. We feel enclosed. And we wonder if there is a way of escape. Now, it's interesting. Darkness seems to be an issue from the very beginning, doesn't it? I know in our Bible study classes in the new year, we're going to go through the entire Bible. If you want to learn the entire story of the Bible, we're going to go through it starting in January. So the very opening of the Bible, Genesis chapter 1, verse 2, he mentions darkness. Darkness is brooding over the earth. And then as you look at the other account of creation, what I want to call a deeper account of creation, a Christian account of creation, John says something different. And this is where we are now in our countdown to Christmas, as we count down the Sundays looking to Christmas. Listen to what John says. He says, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through Him all things were made. Without Him nothing was made that has been made. In the beginning was the eternal Logos, the rationality, the mind, the purpose of God. And this Logos created everything. We looked at that last week. He created everything in the universe, everything where we live in our galaxy, everything in our life. He created you and me. He created us to be creative people, to make things, to create things. But check this out. Next verse. In Him, in the Logos, in the Creator, was life. And that life was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, but the darkness has not understood it. Now, he's going to fast forward about 1 billion years here in this verse, John does. He says, there came a man who was sent from God, whose name was John, John the Baptist, okay? He came as a witness to testify concerning that light, so that through him, through John the Baptist, all men might believe. He himself was not the light. He came only as a witness to the light. The true light that gives light to every man was coming into the world. So John, as he starts talking to us about Christmas, he doesn't start in a manger. He starts metaphysical. He starts with the pre-existent, coexistent, divine Logos who made everything and who also, he tells us today, is light. He is the source of light, and this light is going to shine in dark places. Shine in the darkness of frustration. Shine in the darkness of alienation. Shine in the darkness of incarceration. This light is going to shine brightly and eternally. The source of all light is going to enter into this temporal, finite world to enlighten us and to give us life and to give us light. It's interesting, isn't it? Light. Christmas is all about lights, isn't it? Every year, it seems like my girls still want us to take us to this particular neighborhood in Spring Branch. It's a small home, but they make Clark Griswold look like an amateur. I mean, they go all out with their lights on the street, and people come from all over the city to see this small house, and their entire yard, almost every blade of grass is covered with lights. Christmas is all about lights. We talk a lot about light in our culture, right? I want to shed some light on this. Or you seem to be in the dark. Let me bring you into the light. Or you light up my life. I want to see my name in lights. Bright lights, big city, lights out, he lit it up. All kinds of phrases dealing with light. The lights are home, but the lights are on, but no one's at home. They'll leave the light on. The 1,000 points of light. And then in Genesis chapter 1, verse 3, God said, "Let there be light." And John tells us the source of that light is this Logos, bless you, who's coming into the world. Light. If darkness frustrates, light illuminates. Many times we think darkness is the way to go. The thing about darkness is that darkness is deceptive. It draws us in and makes us think that it's going to be light. Remember, Satan was called early on in the Bible someone who parades himself as an angel of light, but he is drawing us into darkness. But if darkness frustrates, light eliminates, illuminates. If darkness alienates us, we want to hide from our family, we want to hide from our friends, we want to hide from others, we want to try to hide from God. Light liberates. Light liberates. Light gives us freedom. Freedom. But you see, we want to live in a time where, whatever you want to call it, this angel of darkness, Satan, or whatever ourselves, we want to be captivated and think that the darkness is truly light. But the darkness brings devastation. The darkness brings frustration. But the light, truly walking in the light, can bring you, can bring me liberation and freedom. I have a friend that lives in Seattle, and his wife gets really depressed every single year, not because of the city of Seattle, or because the Supersonics are gone, which should make you depressed, is because it's a great nickname, the Supersonics. Anyway, she gets really sad and depressed because of living there. They don't get a lot of sunlight during some times of the year. And so she gets what's known as SAD, seasonal affective disorder. And so my friend says the only way to get help for his wife and the depression she is to get her some light therapy. It doesn't mean you go into a room like we have all these bright lights and stuff and just, no. Physically, they need to go to a different place, a different town, a different city where it's warmer and they can see sunlight, and that brings healing to her. I thought about that. I thought about, we all need light therapy, don't we? I know I do. Life can be tough. Life can be frustrating. Sometimes darkness, creeps in on us, and we go through a season of darkness or a time of darkness, just like Psalm 88 talks about, and we need light. We need this light therapy. So in a way, as we're talking about Advent, as we're counting down to Christmas, we're celebrating the very source of light and the very source of light himself. That's why we have so many lights during Christmas time. Think about it. The wise men followed what? The light, the star in the sky. When the shepherds heard about the birth of the Son of God, the sky was filled with angels of light that lit it up. Light. Light. Light liberates. Darkness incarcerates us, makes us feel trapped. And we all need light therapy. Aristotle said, it is during our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light. When times are tough, when we feel like we're in the darkness, we have to focus. We have to fight, if you would, to see and to receive the light. John says the light of the world was coming into this world. He's come into this world, but we have to place ourselves in an environment that we can receive light, that we can receive his light. And what's interesting about his light is God gives us just enough light that we need. Sometimes I wish God would give us the high beams. We can just see way into the future, right? And dispel all of our uncertainties, dispel all of our worries. We can just see the whole plan in advance. I remember I told you when I was living in Colorado many, many years ago, that summer, finally someone gave me a flashlight to make it from the main house to my log cabin. But that flashlight, it only lit up maybe a few feet in front of me. It's crazy. So I could only walk a few feet. Then I'd shine the light and I'd walk a few more feet and a few more feet. And that's how walking with God is. Especially when you're trying to walk out of the darkness. God just shows you and gives you enough light for that moment, for that day, for that week. And we literally keep walking in the light. John, who wrote this gospel, he wrote the letters, 1st, 2nd, 3rd John, who wrote the book of the Revelation, talks more about light than any other writer in the New Testament. And in 1 John chapter 1, verse 5, he says, this is the message that God has given us. What's God's message? What is it? He goes, I want to pass it on to you, that God is light. He's light, and in him there is no darkness at all. If we say we're his friends, but go on living in spiritual darkness and sin, we're lying. But if we're living in the light of God's presence, if we're walking in the light, just as Christ does, then we have wonderful fellowship and joy with each other, and the blood of Christ cleanses us from every sin. So God shines light in your life. He shines light in my life to reveal the areas of darkness, to bring us out of darkness into his light. And that's a continual process where God reveals things and pockets of darkness that you and I need to turn from and run away from and run to his light. Because later on, this Logos, this creator, this light's going to come into the world. He's going to say, I am the light of the world. Then he's going to point to us and say, you are the light of the world. God has designed you and I to be lights in a dark place. The light has come, and we were to shine his light. I love at the end of 1 Peter 2:9. It says, you're a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. Into his wonderful light. We reflect his light. We ask God, God, shine your light down in my life. Maybe you're in a Psalm 88 season in your life, and you're wondering, where is God? Where is the light? Perhaps your prayer today is to be, God, shine your light down in my life. Help me to see how you are speaking life and light to me right now. Or maybe you're somewhere else and you're wondering, what do I need to be about this Christmas season? What do we need to be about as we launch into this new year, 2019? Perhaps just maybe God has called you to reflect his light, to walk in his light, and to wherever you go and whoever you're in contact with, say, God, I just want to be a man and woman. I want to be a young person who is filled with your light. I just want to reflect your light. I love it in the passage in John 1 here, where it says, John the Baptist is not the light. We're not the light. We simply are testifying and talking about the light and allowing his light to shine through us and shine through our humanity and shine through our imperfections that we might make a difference in those around us. Light. God continually calls us out of this darkness, out of the darkness that can incarcerate and just bring us into this light that truly liberates and truly has the ability to set us free. Set us free to be who God has designed us to be. Free to allow God to work through our story, our personality, and even the darkness. He can redeem that in our life. That's what happens when the light touches you. I don't know if this helps or not. This helped me, but I work out at a place about, a few miles down the street near Westheimer and Gessner, okay? And I would go there and train and all that stuff, and there was a building to the left of where I'd work out that I never went into. I just never went into it. There really wasn't a sign, and I couldn't figure out what it was until one day, I walked up to the door. Door opens automatically. I walk in, and there's all kind of stuff in this store. We're talking about groceries, clothes, furniture. And it's so cheap, it makes Walmart look like Neiman's. I can't believe it. You know what it's called? Big Lots. Oh, yeah, I didn't know Big Lots existed. Man, I'm all in on this Big Lot deal. I couldn't believe it. So many times before I work out, I'll go to Big Lots and I'll buy some things and groceries and things that I need that are bargain-based prices. Sometimes the food's a little stale, but it's edible. I know you never do this, but sometimes I'll sit in the car, I'll be on my cell phone, I'm still working as I'm in the parking lot, getting ready to go in. And I've noticed about Big Lots and other stores that if you walk to the door, there's this invisible beam of light that hits you somewhere. Or maybe it's in the door, and the door opens up automatically. It's just open door. And you walk right in. I thought about that. And I looked at all the people that would go in Big Lots. People from all over the place. People from all different races. It didn't matter what country you were from, what language you spoke or didn't speak. If you got in that little light, boom, the door opened. Didn't matter if you're rich, poor, educated, uneducated, PhD, GED. I watch people go into Big Lots. When that light hits them, boom, the door opens. It's like God's invitation to us, isn't it? God doesn't discriminate where we're from and where we're not from and how smart we are or dumb we are or what we look like and how many people are liking us and following us or whatever the heck that means. God doesn't care about that. Well, I've really, really, really messed up. Really biggie supersized sin or medium. It doesn't matter. When the light hits you, the door opens up. He's the light that gives light to everyone who's come into the world. It's an open door into the big lot, if you would, go with me, of life that he has for us. But it's an open door. It's automatic for all of us who would humble ourselves and say, God, I want your light to come into my life. I turn away from, the darkness, and I just turn to your light, and boom, the door opens. The door opens. It's the light that gives light to all of us. Pray with me. Father, I thank you so much for shining your light down in our life. God, I thank you that you're here with us here today. And God, I know, God, in the congregation of this size here this morning, even with Christmas going on and the incredible lights that we have and the life and the fun, God, I know I know, God, that many of us are in that Psalm 88 place, that place of darkness and frustration. God, I pray, God, you would speak and shine your light down upon couples and singles and families that are in that time. God, show them, God, and give them hope that many times darkness can serve as a canvas for the future, for your light to shine through their lives. God, speak your light, your love, your hope, your strength into them right now is my prayer. Lord, others are here today and they need to be people of light, men and women, young people who reflect your light. God, may they be about that today and the following days ahead as we look forward to Christmas. God, I pray for those who are here today who need a church, a place where they can belong. God, I thank you because of your light. The door is wide open for us, wide open to join this church, to join this family. So God, during this time of invitation, may those who you are leading to stand and come walk down front today and walk through this open door that you have for them. This is our prayer in Jesus' name.